We're back, y'all, and today we're going to be discussing something that has been surfacing in the underground for the last few years. I'm talking about the rise of the white boy apocalypse. This really got kickstarted in the modern underground, with artists like Yeat garnering attention for looking Caucasian. Although this is not the reason that launched his career forward, it gave a deeper layer of things for fans to discuss when it came to the lore and background of their new favorite rapper. Yeat spoke in early interviews how he was half Romanian and half Mexican, with British backgrounds from his grandparents. It became a popular topic to speak about how Yeat and other white rappers didn't quite fit into the subcultures of rap, or how they appropriated the culture by using or taking advantage of the images set by the founders before them. To most casual hip-hop fans or regular rap listeners, it may seem weird to give Yeat credit as being the first artist to spark the white boy apocalypse or a rise in white rappers. But there was a solid case to be made that Yeat was the first artist to spark this rise in the modern underground. Fast forward past 2021 to the modern day, there was a whole new group of artists being associated as white rappers. Artists like Lossy and Lil Shine were going viral for their plug and B, as well as artists like Dom Corleo going viral with the ambient 808 sound. All of these artists were leading the forefront of the emergence of white rappers in the underground, and were showing that you could be successful making any genre of music, no matter what your race was. Music is always going to be subjective, and people of all different backgrounds are going to make all different kinds of genres. Having influencers in the underground can be beneficial, but it can also lead to a rise of certain trends depending on how the influencers act or who is put in that position. People like Diddy Bop don't necessarily help the image of white influencers in the hip-hop space. At the end of the day, all kids are going to do cringe shit, whether they display it or not, but the portrayal of certain cringe characters may have definitely saturated the market for underground promotion. This brings us to the main culprits of this video: Ian Ferguson, or Ian with 100 N's on Instagram, and an artist named Brennan Jones. These are two recent examples of white artists that were able to use Instagram promotion tactics to have snippets go viral. Not only were the snippets going viral because of the visuals or what was displayed in the trailers, it seems that the sounds that both of these artists were using were both very reminiscent of artists that were already at the top of the underground, if not already reaching mainstream status. Ian quickly got direct comparisons to Yeat because of the flow, ad-libs, cadence, some of the bars, beat selection, slightly the image. A whole lot of what Ian was putting out there reminded the viewers of the early sound that Yeat had, although Ian had refined it all way more than Yeat had back in 2019 before he experienced any sort of initial rise or come up. Speaking as somebody who saw the Ian snippet in my Explore page scrolling through Instagram, I saw that other artists like Bandana Saint and Glaive had liked the post and commented. The song Figure It Out caught my attention, along with the amount of views and interactions it was getting. At the time, Ian had a few thousand followers, about 5K, which jumped up to over 150K as I'm recording this bar right now. I had to check because, my god, this video has been in the works for about 2 to 3 weeks, and bro's just been going up. With a new sound going viral and a new audience looking to him for inspiration, it could be said that the underground was in need of a Yeat-like replacement. After a lot of mixed reviews on Yeat's most recent album, 2093, due to a complete shift in sound, the core fanbase was left hungry for the sound they subscribed to early on. This is where Ian was able to take advantage of creating a similar sound to fill that gap. Ian is not the first artist to be compared to Yeat, or even the closest sounding to Yeat, Most Yeet clones will use Yeet's lingo in the same low-pitched voice. This is where Ian stood out because the presence he had on the mic did not match his visual aesthetic. One of, if not the biggest factors of Ian going viral was that he was a normal college frat student with a deep, distorted voice that reminded listeners a lot of the rising and buzzing talent from hip-hop cities like Atlanta or New York. With the release of his single, Figure It Out, following the viral TikTok, Ian had less than 1K monthly listeners on Spotify. This has now skyrocketed to over
1 million.
With the new surge of listeners, it's no doubt that all of his previous work got recognition, proving that he had put in work to see the success that he's had from the snippet. Ian started dropping music in 2021, and a lot of the early singles are still left on listening platforms, going against the mysterious stigma that a lot of artists have started to create by deleting their initial releases as soon as they get a bigger audience. If anything, Ian has been the opposite of mysterious after his snippet went viral. He's been on a streak of rolling out content about once a week, mostly based off of skits using his sounds in the background. These skits were different than his initial shorts, which were more of a standard Triller dancing and performing the songs. It quickly evolved to standard videos of Ian getting ready in the morning or doing everyday activities with his snippets in the back. This was interesting given that nobody would usually care about a regular person doing these things, but Ian was leaning into being the people's rapper, somebody with a good image that could relate to the majority of listeners. It's not like Ian got rich overnight, and even if he did, he's done a good job at staying humble regardless of where his backgrounds originate from. Ian was already starting to get memed and posted all over the underground pages, which led to some bigger eyes landing on him. Videos calling out Bronny James for a 1v1, as well as Southside from 808 Mafia making an appearance in his first posted music video. Speaking of his first posted music video, his follow-up single, Grand Slam, came shortly after the explosion of Figure It Out. The follow-up single obviously had a lot of hype, along with there being snippets previewed all throughout fans' explore pages from other fan accounts and underground pages. Everybody was talking about Ian, and the hype was at an all-time high. In reality, it was a short time in between the drops of the two songs. But with the constant promo, it left fans waiting, clenching tight for the new Ian drop. But day after day, it never came. With the short attention span of the average listener, it can be hard to keep people engaged on one snippet for several weeks or even a month. Look at recent examples like So Fago or even Netspend, where songs are constantly being previewed, but there hasn't been a surge of good snippets being rolled out. Ian, however, was still able to capitalize on the growing hype and get a very successful single released, which is sitting at 5 million plus streams on all platforms after the release about a month ago. These releases may have seemed more planned out than fans initially thought. On Spotify, it showed that Figure It Out was released by Columbia Records, which is a very established major record label. Getting this kind of push from a major is almost unheard of from an unrecognized artist. This is where industry plant allegations came into play for Ian, as his numbers and growth were coming at an extreme rate. Unseen before in the last couple years from the underground, it then became clear that there was more going on behind the scenes than fans initially thought. Drake had followed Ian in mid-April, and this is not an average cosign in the underground. Most people that blow up with a snippet or two and have their page go viral don't get followed by Drake a month or two later. I think we can all tell by now that a Drake cosign is not going to be what it once was, and that Drake might be cooked after this Kendrick Lamar beef. But I'm not here to talk about Drake. I just think it's funny how he always finds a way to involve himself with these new and up-and-coming underground artists. It was also discovered that Forbat's manager and Ian follow each other on Instagram. While Forbat's manager follows no other underground artists, this may look very suspicious. Why would Forbat's manager follow Ian, as well as the Drake follow? It could add up that Forbat's camp, as well as OVO, might have had intentions to try to bring Ian to the mainstream, or at least bring them on the team. As we are now seeing, Ian is making a big push to be Underground Rapper of the Year, or make it past the underground into the mainstream. We will have to see what the future holds for Ian in a year at least, but at this point, there is some growing hype for a project to come up, as fans might be tired of constant singles dropping. Let me know in the comments down below if you would be looking forward to a project from Ian.